also known as Porn. I am 26. I am from France. I live in the UK, and I'm in the process of getting an autism diagnosis. After years of feeling different and struggling with my mental health. So I make videos about that, about the diagnosis journey as an adult, and I make videos about what it's like being autistic for me. So thank you for watching and subscribing and liking and commenting. I am playing with this little guy that I received yesterday. I've been obsessed with fidget toys and stim toys for, oh my god, I'm tearing up right now. Do you guys get that when you're excited? When I'm excited, sometimes I tear up. It's so embarrassing. But yeah, I've been so obsessed with stim toys for the past few weeks, months, and this has been on my Amazon wish list, and I received it yesterday. I can't, I love it so much. Okay, today I wanted to kind of give an update on my autism diagnosis journey, where it's at, what's happened since last time I gave an update. So today is the 26th of January. It's Friday currently. Some stuff has been happening, some good stuff actually. I think last time I made an update, I had just received the report letter from the psychiatrist who did my initial consultation. So basically, she was supposed to send me a report with all her notes that she took during the initial consultation. By the way, the consultation lasted less than an hour and it cost £250. So when I saw that, I was very glad that it was covered by my partner's work insurance, health insurance, because I never could have afforded that. I mean, yeah, like that's crazy. Yeah, so she said she was gonna send me a report letter about all the things all the notes she took, about what I said, what she observed, and I received the letter while recording my last video update. So when I was done filming, I read the letter, and I have to say it made me uncomfortable. Doesn't even cover it. I felt so, by the way, if I'm tearing up a lot in this video, it's because I'm coming off antidepressants and it's rough. I did it gradually over like 5 weeks, following my GP's recommendations, and it is rough. My emotions are all over the place. I have dizziness, vertigo, nausea. I struggle to regulate my temperature. It's not good. But anyway, so when I read the report letter, it was a horrible feeling, really, because it was the first time that I read first of all, it was quite long, and I had never read something like that written about me in the third person from a psychiatrist, because this was my first time seeing a psychiatrist, and like her observations of my behavior and stuff. And I felt like I was I felt naked reading it. I felt so vulnerable. It wasn't a great feeling. I felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. You know, I remember just, you know, when there's something very cringy, and like I felt such high cringe, you know. I just wanted to just go hide in a hole and just forget that I exist. Anyway, so I read it, and there were some things, you know, most of the stuff I already knew. It was basically stuff I told her. She basically summarized everything. And there was also the stuff that she observed on her own, and that was the most surprising part of it, because I sometimes you don't know how you come across, you know, because most of the time people are too polite to tell you, or they're biased or whatever. So this is like an external point of view of like my behavior, and I don't know, it felt really weird. And I felt, and obviously like my imposter syndrome that I mentioned in my last update, my imposter syndrome was already really strong to begin with, so this definitely didn't help. I felt like an absolute fraud reading it, even though I was literally reading a summary of what I told her, and like there were some things that she got slightly wrong, but it might be a misunderstanding because English isn't my first language and it isn't her first language either. So, you know, I mean, we communicated very well, like, but there might be slight misunderstandings, nothing major. Most of it she got right. But yeah, it was a very long letter. I'll read little snippets of it now. There are some things I realized while talking to her, or after talking to her. Like, she asked me questions about my experiences in school, whether I had friends and stuff like that. And I talked about high school, my experience in high school. So from the ages of 15 to 18 years old in France. I was like, I hadn't really thought about it, and like on the spot I said, you know, I kind of went from being just a weird kid to being the cool weird kid. I started, you know, embracing my weirdness, if you will, like dressing as a Victorian goth and like wearing makeup, and I was more confident. And the psychiatrist said, like, suggested, like, do you put on a persona of sorts? And I was like, no, it's not quite it. But then after the appointment, I was like, I thought about it more, and I was like, yeah, she's completely right. That was a persona. That was 100% a persona. So she's good. I mean, it's her job. She basically has a PhD. She basically has a PhD. So obviously she's good at this. I have this thing when I read, or when I read something I find embarrassing or cringy, or I think about an embarrassing or cringy past event, like memory, I have this thing where I start singing or humming, and I've realized it's to kind of like drown the like the almost like the noise in my head of the memory playing out, or just what I'm reading. Like, I've been reading in my head the report, and at the same time I've been humming, and it's like, it makes me so embarrassed that I feel like singing or humming makes it more bearable somehow. I don't know, but it's something I've always done. Like, whenever I have like a very embarrassing cringy memory in my, like, I'll start humming out of nowhere, and like, it's a comforting stim, obviously. It's my way of dealing with the embarrassing emotion. And for the longest time, I told people about this, and they couldn't relate. I was like, that's just another thing I can add to my list of weird things I do. So the part that was the most cringy for me, oh, I'm feeling the cringe right now, was the mental state examination. So there were several parts to the letter. First, there was like past medical history, blah blah blah, medication, family history. And then there was personal and developmental history. So that was basically a summary of all the things I told her about my past, family, education, blah blah blah. Then there was a part called consultation, which was what we talked about during the consultation, because there was also like a questionnaire I filled out before the consultation. So, and then there was mental state examination, which is the cringy part, and impression, and then plan, and that's basically for my insurance. So the mental state examination states, and that was the part that really surprised me in a weird way. So it says 26-year-old French female. She made very little eye contact, so I knew that. I never, like, you can tell, like, even while filming this video, I'm not comfortable looking. It's not so much that I'm not comfortable looking at the camera, it's just that it's easier for me to process what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling when I look all over the place. And I do that when I talk to people, I do that when I film myself. I've tried making YouTube videos ever since I started watching YouTube, stuff on YouTube. So for over 10 years, probably 10 to 15 years, I've been an avid YouTube watcher. I've tried countless times to create YouTube channels and make videos, and every time I hated looking at myself so much that it either never left my camera, I either never uploaded or even edited the video, or if I did upload it, I would stop after a couple videos. Not so much because I didn't get many views, but mostly because I just couldn't stand looking at myself. That sounds really sad, but I think I always knew, well, I definitely always knew that I was different. And I just thought I was so weird and I didn't have any charisma. And yeah, so now that I know about my autism, I'm actually a lot less self-conscious. And I've done a lot of work on myself, self-love, been on a self-love journey this past year. And so it's easier now, but I mean, I can tell I'm like, yeah, I struggle with eye contact, that's for sure. My eyes are all over the place. I think it was the Thought Spot on YouTube who explained why we do that. There's a scientific explanation behind that, and like it's one of the things that therapists and such look for when doing an ASD assessment. So it makes sense that she wrote that down. So 26-year-old French female, she made very little eye contact. I was aware of that. The next sentence is what I struggled with the most. So her speech was articulate. She spoke monotonously. There was no evidence of thought interference, no abnormal beliefs or perceptions. She had insight into her symptoms. So the part about my speech being articulate and speaking monotonously, I know are kind of autistic traits, at least the part about speaking monotonously. It was something I wasn't quite aware of, and I talked about it with my partner afterwards, and he was like, yeah, you don't always talk monotonously, but definitely when you're info dumping or like you're really into a subject, you can sound a little monotonous. And I was like, I guess that's just another thing that kind of betrays my autism that I wasn't aware of. It's just another part of my masking not being very good, which I mentioned in my last video. I'll make a whole video about masking in the future, but yeah, that really stuck with me, that sentence. I don't know about my speech being articulate, because a lot of the time when I speak in English, which I did during the consultation, when I listen to myself afterwards, I tend to think that it's not always very clear what I'm saying. I guess what she meant by articulate is maybe my word choices. I don't know. I could ask, but yeah, so that was basically it. So then basically she goes on to say that basically the autism assessment would be beneficial for my mental health. She says an autism assessment could also help with reasonable adjustments at work should she wish to in the future. She has had chronic feelings of low mood and anxiety, which may be due to the chronic struggles about fitting and feeling different. Yeah, she basically told the insurance that it would be good for me to get an autism assessment. That day that I received this letter, I immediately sent it to, I called my insurance. So I called Bupa because I didn't know what the next step was. And they said I basically needed to forward that letter, that report, to them, to Bupa, and they gave me the email address that I needed to send it to. So I did, and they said it can take up to 7 working days. I read somewhere on Reddit that someone went through the process and it took 2 weeks for them to receive an answer. So that was last Monday. They sent it on the 15th of January, I believe. And so I thought 7 working days, I should receive it by Wednesday, so 2 days ago. And then I thought, you know, it's probably going to take longer than that, so I'll give myself until next Monday, so this coming Monday, and then if I still haven't received anything, I'll chase them. And so every day this week I've been anxiously checking my inbox, and this morning I woke up and there it was. I got my email from Bupa saying that my autism assessment is eligible to be covered by insurance, basically. And so they gave me the pre-authorization code. Within minutes of receiving the email, I literally emailed my psychiatrist who did my initial consultation, because I decided to do the actual assessment with her. And I sent her secretary the pre-authorization code. I told her, like, we can book the appointment for the assessment, and I felt so excited and relieved, because I really struggle with, I have a hard time dealing with uncertainty. I don't like being in a situation like this where I have to wait for something to arrive. Even though, you know, I thought there's no reason why they wouldn't approve it, because I have heard stories of other people getting it approved and there weren't any issues, and like the letter from my psychiatrist was very strong, supporting evidence for my assessment. But anyways, there's always a chance, right, that they might not approve it, and I thought, you know, if they don't approve it, I'm not going to be able to do it because I don't have the money, and I don't want to borrow money from the people in my life. So it was kind of it gave me a lot of anxiety, especially since I've been, like I said, I've been coming off antidepressants, and so I've been struggling this week. So to get this news this morning, that was huge. It's like, it made my day, like, oh, tearing up again. I'm very excited because this is such an important step in my life. Getting my diagnosis, hopefully getting it. I honestly don't see why I wouldn't get the diagnosis, because she's basically already told me I'm autistic. She just needs to confirm it formally. So I'd be very surprised if then she was like, at the end of the assessment, she was like, no, actually I was wrong, you're not autistic. Like, you know, I've known for a while now that I'm autistic, but I just can't believe that it's going so smoothly. I read something one day about autistic people, how autistic people tend to not take things for granted. And I think that's a really good quality some of us have, and I definitely identify with that. I never take things for granted. I feel so blessed. Like, there has been a lot of pain in my life. I think most people could say that about their life. There has been a lot of pain in my past, but when I look at the big picture, I think, you know, for a long time, I used to think that I was very, very lucky when I was younger. I always thought, you know, whenever I do something, it turns out all right. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky because I have an easy time at school, academically. And like, every time I'm interested in something, I become really good at it, which now I know is an autistic trait. But I always thought, you know, I'm very blessed. I grew up in the countryside. My parents had a big farmhouse. We had horses and dogs and cats and wildlife, and just I felt so lucky. And I still do, you know, even though my parents abused me, I still feel like I had a very privileged childhood in many ways. I always had food to eat, I had a roof over my head, clothes to wear. We never really struggled financially or anything like that. From a material point of view, I had a very good childhood. From an emotional, psychological point of view, it's a different story. But anyway, so for the longest time, especially before I figured out I had childhood trauma, I thought, you know, I'm so lucky. I can't believe I'm so lucky in life. And that was me not taking things for granted. I thought, you know, it's too good to be true almost. I thought one day my luck is gonna run out and things are gonna start to suck. It hasn't happened yet, touching wood, but yeah, I feel so blessed for the life that I have right now. To have the partner that I have, the cats that we have, to be able to live in this house and this country that I love. Yeah, to have the life that we have, and the people in my life that I have, and I'm getting emotional again. And to be able to focus on getting better and healing my wounds and getting the support that I need, and getting this autism assessment. And I can't believe how smoothly it's been going. Some people have to wait years to get their assessment, their diagnosis, and they have to pay thousands of pounds or dollars. And I haven't had to pay anything. And I started the whole process about 2 months ago. And yeah, I just never could have imagined that it would go so smoothly, so fast, so well. I was so lucky that the psychiatrist I talked to is so understanding and knowledgeable. By the way, I'll put her name and contact details in the description in case any of you want, if you're in the UK and you have Bupa insurance or not, and you want to get assessed or at least talk to someone who knows about autism and knows about the presentation of autism in women. She also does ADHD. I can say she's been I've only talked to her once, but I'm gonna do my assessment with her, and she's really kind, and I never felt judged. She seemed to know a lot about autism, so I'll put her contact details down below if you're looking for someone to do the assessment with privately, the autism assessment or ADHD. Actually, my partner has started his own diagnosis journey, and since I did it before him, then, you know, we know the steps already, so it's kind of easier in a way. But also because he has ADHD, he struggles with executive dysfunction in a different way than me. I also have executive dysfunction, but it doesn't affect me in the same way, because he has both. We suspect he has both ADHD and autism. It's been a bit of a struggle, but he is going to do his ADHD assessment first. Hopefully by the end of the year, both of us will be diagnosed, which is crazy. That's insane to me. In terms of how I've been feeling about my autism since the last update I filmed, my imposter syndrome is still there. I don't know if it will ever leave, but it's doing better. I definitely feel a lot more confident, and of course it changes, you know, depending on the day. It's not a constant thing, but I feel like it's a lot better. It's more tame, you know. I have tamed it a little bit, but yeah, I feel more strongly about my autism and my decision to get diagnosed. I watched a lot of videos about from autistic YouTubers, content creators saying, talking about their imposter syndrome, and it sounded so similar to what I'm experiencing that I thought, okay, it was very comforting, because to hear the exact same words that I was hearing in my head spoken by another person going through the same thing, I thought, okay, it confirmed to me that it's normal to experience this, and that I'm not the only one going through this. Definitely not, because like so many people are talking about imposter syndrome as late diagnosed autistic people. It's crazy. So it's been better. What I've been really struggling with though these past few months, but especially these past few weeks and this week, and I'll make a whole video about that in the future, but it's executive dysfunction. Yesterday, I couldn't even make lunch. The situation in the kitchen was atrocious. There was dirty dishes everywhere. I really struggle to keep on top of chores. I'm not able to clean the kitchen every day right now. That's just how it is. I manage to do it maybe a couple times a week, so I'll usually do like when it gets to a certain point where it's like unbearable and like there's no clean dishes left, there's no other choice but to like clean everything at once. So I'll enter a productive mode and I'll be super fast and super effective, and I'll do the whole kitchen in like half an hour. I won't do it again until a few days later, when again the situation is out of control and I have to do something about it. So that's been how I've been handling things. And yesterday I knew I had to make lunch. So my partner works during the day. He has a 9 to 5. He works from home. So I'm usually the one who makes like tea and feeds the cat and makes lunch and dinner, and I'm usually supposed to make lunch during weekdays. And yesterday and listen, what I wanted to make for lunch wasn't complicated. It was just pesto pasta, but I knew I had to clean a pan, wash a pan so that I could fill it with water and put it on the stove to boil, to then add the pasta and stuff. And just the thought of like having to go into the messy kitchen, having to wash a pan, it was too much for me. I had literally like no spoons. I had no executive function yesterday, and I was, I think it's called like autistic inertia. I need to look into it more, but when you feel stuck, and I was stuck on the couch, the sofa, texting my partner like, I need help, I can't make lunch, I physically can't. So that's been bad, but I've been treating myself gently now that I know it's not just a bad personality trait, a bad character trait of mine. It's an actual thing I struggle with because of my autism. I'm just kinder to myself. And basically this week I've been doing the bare minimum when it comes to chores around the house. And the rest of the time I've been doing yoga if I can. I've only been able to do yoga once this week. Usually I do it every weekday, but today's Friday, I'm only done it once. I tried to do it yesterday. I was so dizzy from coming off sertraline that I started doing the cat-cow and just putting my head down and then up and down and up. The room started spinning and I started to feel nauseous, and I just had to stop and lay down. So it hasn't been great. So basically I've been trying to the least I try to do every day is like it's not too hard because I have sensory issues when it comes to like personal hygiene. But I've been able to shower every day. That's great. And get dressed and stuff. And yeah, I've been doing the bare minimum, so meals that don't require too much prep, and postponing chores for as long as possible until it's just like unbearable and I have to do it. The rest of the time I'm just playing with my fidgets, watching videos about autism, and rewatching Disney movies from my childhood. And I've been making Scooby-Doo again. Did you do that as a child? I grew up in the 2000s. I was born in the late 90s, so these things were big in France when I was growing up. And I don't know, I've been just going down a rabbit hole of like nostalgia lately and just reconnecting with my inner child, and because I realized I still love the things I loved as a child, so that's why I like revived my Tamagotchi that I've had for a few years, and I started making these. This is a rainbow one with 6 strands that I'm trying to make in honor of neurodiversity. I've been playing an online game that I used to play as a young teenager, that I come back to regularly over the years, and it's been great. And in the past I would have judged myself so harshly for doing these things that make me feel good, that I need to do. I would have hated myself for doing those things, and it would have made things 10 times, it would have made me feel 10 times worse. And now I don't judge myself for that anymore. I'm like, this is what I need. I'm not hurting anybody by doing these things. They make me feel better, so I'ma do it, and I don't care what people think. And I can't do anything else right now. So yeah, a lot more self-acceptance and self-love. I'll keep posting video updates about my autism diagnosis. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. I was posting these things mostly for myself, and I thought maybe this will help one person out there. It's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very scared of being judged, online hate and stuff like that. So it takes a lot for me to post these videos, but I think, you know, watching videos made by autistic content creators has helped me so much that I thought if someone out there relates to what I'm saying and it helps them in one way or another, then it's great. So thank you for subscribing, commenting, liking, and watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.